Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. I have a pistachio cold brew with an ill-tempered goose mug. Today's video is going to be my reading wrap-up for July, so we're just going to be talking about all of the books that I ended up reading in July, so let's get into it. The first book that I read in July was actually The Fourfold Gospel by A.B. Simpson. I was reading this because I had a bunch of stuff to do for my accreditation interview, and this is one of the things I was trying to get more of a grasp of and just have more content in my brain about it. So I read that. This is the short one. It's not the big long one that's expanded. This is the very short one. And then I finished Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. I'd actually started this in June but barely finished it in July. This is the 5th book in the Throne of Glass series. I really liked getting more of Manon in her arc in this book. That was probably the highlight for me. I really liked that. As well as some really cool action and fight scenes. I really love those, and I feel like this was more prevalent in this book as it's further along in the story. But I felt like the big gut punches that people get really invested in and upset about didn't really hit me like it hit for other people. And I think it's partially because I've had some quotes or scenes somewhat spoiled for me. I've heard the quotes before, or I've heard certain things. So I think because I've just been in the book community and heard some of that, a lot of that was spoiled for me, or at least some of it was spoiled for me. Even if I didn't know how it was going to come about, I knew the line. And then partially because Aelin puts up a front of cockiness and secrecy. So when things are falling apart or fall apart, I'm just left there thinking, well, yeah, what did you think was going to happen? How did you think that was going to end, you know? So some of it I was just kind of yeah, whatever. It didn't really emotionally put me in turmoil the way it does for some people. And then another reveal that you get at the end of the book, I didn't really care about. And I think partially, again, because it was spoiled for me, but also, I've seen this before. I've seen this before in a Sarah J. Maas book in the ACOTAR series. And granted, usually people have read Throne of Glass before ACOTAR, just in publishing order, if you were following her with publishing order. So this would have been your first kind of reveal like that, but for me that was ACOTAR, and that one hit harder. So it's just a difference of experience in reading and what you like, I guess. So I didn't really care about it because I'd seen it before. The scene on the beach at the end of the book, you know what I'm talking about, with Rowan. I still really liked it and getting a lot more characters. I really enjoyed getting more of Lorcan and Elide. I ended up really liking Lorcan, at least in the other books. But I'm not saying I didn't like this book. I gave it 4 stars, which is a good rating for me, a great rating for me. I still don't quite get the hype. I still don't quite get the rabid fandom. But that's okay. I think everybody clings to one of her series. If you're a Sarah J. Maas fan, I think you cling to one of them, and that's just your ride or die, and I think mine is ACOTAR. The next book that I read is The Midnight Train by Matt Haig. This is book 2 in the Midnight World series, and this is really cool because I didn't know that this was going to be a series. I thought the Midnight Library was going to be a one-off, but I guess he decided that there's other ideas that were swirling around in his brain, and this one is a little bit different. So in this one, it says, when your life flashes before your eyes, where would you stop? No one can change the past, but the midnight train can take you there. The chance to relive the moments that meant the most, to see what kind of person you really were. For Wilbur, his best days were with Maggie, the love of his life. On his honeymoon in Venice, before he gave it all away. He wishes he could go back and live differently, but to do so risks everything. A magical, time-traveling love story from the world of the Midnight Library. I still also really liked this one. I don't think I liked it quite as much as the Midnight Library. And also, full disclosure, I listened to this when I was on a road trip, and I think I may or may not have dozed off for a couple seconds here and there, and may have gotten some wires crossed in that process. But I liked this. I liked that it was still in the Midnight World, even though it's a very different story and situation than the Midnight Library. I liked that it was about regrets and how to make the most of life, or how to look back and wish you had done things differently. How we can choose to cherish certain things. How we can choose to cherish certain things in our life now, or regret taking them for granted later. I really appreciate the author writing this series, and I think they're all kind of poignant and have a message, even though it's kind of also this magical journey. So I really enjoyed that, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. And then I read The Exquisite Torment of Loving Your Enemy by Brigitte Knightley. I love this. Spoiler, who's surprised? No one. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I gave the first one 5 stars. I gave this one 5 stars. It's a duology. It's fantastic. I love it. I want to get 2 tiny filler tattoos on my bookish sleeve. Whenever I do this, it looks like I have no tattoos, and it's so annoying. To honor Aaron and Osric. So excited. Love this duology so much. The humor in this is just so good. Like, it's got such a balance of like mystery and action and danger, as well as humor and romance. And I love the balance that it strikes. And I think the way that is all played out is like what I enjoy in stories. Because I don't want it to just be romance. I enjoy stories without romance at all. So I don't want it to just be romance. I don't want it to just be like, well, it depends. I like lots of different books, and some of those are just fighting or just action or just a traveling fantasy trek, journey. But I don't necessarily want it to I don't want it to be just be romance. I don't like that. I don't want the plot to have, I don't want it to be so plot heavy that you don't care about the characters at all, because then it doesn't really matter if you care about the plot. I don't want it to be super character heavy. I don't want there to be no humor. I also don't want there to just be action or just be boring stuff or just be research. And I feel like this just strikes the balance for me, and that's why it hit so hard for me and why I liked it so much. It's also more of a slow burn, which I enjoy. So I really, really liked this. I think it's clever. I think it's just different in the way that the author goes about writing the humor and the banter and the interactions between the characters. And I just really, really loved it. It's so good. And I love a book that can keep me invested in the adventure and the danger and the mystery while also making me laugh. And this does that very well. 5 stars. I love it. And then I actually finished Tired of Being Tired by Jen Connolly. I had been listening to this for a little while. And this is it's in the little like subtitle is Receive God's Realistic Rest for Your Soul Deep Exhaustion. And I feel like I just needed this book at this time. I needed to hear what it had to say, and it called me out on some stuff and had me make a change that was a little bit scary and big, and I think it was a really good book, and it was just like, I got it at the time that I needed to read it, which is always nice when that happens. I don't rate nonfiction books just because a lot of the time it just feels weird to me, but this book was really good. I really liked that the author addressed a lot of real issues, and it also, like I said, prompted me to make changes that weren't easy. And I appreciated the way the book talked about things that I've experienced, and also helped identify some of the ways where I've been tired, whether it's like mentally, physically, emotionally, like those types of things. So I thought this was really, really good. I appreciated it. I think you need to read it in the time you're willing to. I think you need to be able to read it in the right time for yourself, But it was the right time for me, and it was helpful. And the last book that I finished in July, because this was a chonker, took me a while to get through it, is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. So this is Throne of Glass, book 7. Because we skipped right over Tower of Dawn. Sorry, I know that hurts some people, but I was told that I would get all of the information that I needed to get, and then it was okay. And okay, so once again, I really liked this. I liked this book. Books 4, 5, and 7, I enjoyed. I still didn't feel as invested as I think I should have, or like as a lot of people are. But I will say I did feel a little bit bad for Aelin in this book. I did feel a little bit bad for her. She goes through some hard things. But the 13 were the only part that like truly upset me and made me have like some sort of emotional response where I was like, why? Of everyone, why? Although I kind of saw it coming, because Manon is my favorite character, and I feel like whenever I dub somebody my favorite, they're destined to die. Death's kiss is upon them. So it made sense how it played out if it didn't happen to her, Sorry, this is a lot of spoilers that you could probably read into. But I also I think one of the things I have with this book, I felt like the issue that needed to be resolved was a little bit of a cop-out. Because if this is the prophecy and this is what has to happen, this is the deal that was struck, how are we suddenly getting around that and we don't have to sacrifice that? That doesn't sit right with me. I don't love that. I understand why. It would be devastating, right? But it's like, that's the whole point, is that it was devastating that this was a plot device, Am I glad we found another resolution for a happy ending? Yeah. But I don't like when something is built up so much that this is the only way. They've thought about it, they've researched it, this is the only way this is gonna occur, and then something magically happens and that's not actually the only way. or that's not what actually had to happen. Magically they survived the sacrifice, or it doesn't have to be that way, you know? I think it feels a little resurrection tropey, and that's probably why it's a little off-putting for me. Instead of the sacrifice having to actually happen, it's like you just skip it. But I did like the magic in this series and a lot of the supporting characters, but I think it would definitely hit different for me if I had liked the first 3 books, as I'm sure it did for a lot of other people. So I feel like had I been really emotionally invested then, it might have hit me a little bit different, but I wasn't, and that's okay. But I still am glad that I at least enjoyed the last 3 that I read, because the first 3 were not it for me. Glad I finished it. I'm glad I have this under my belt now. I feel better knowing that Sarah J. Maas will just go wild potentially someday, but I did it. I don't know if I said I gave Kingdom of Ash 4 stars. Those are the books that I was able to finish in July. I actually thought I was going to finish another book, but I ended up finishing it like August 1st or August 2nd. So, I would love to know what your favorite and least favorite read of July was if you want to leave it in a comment down below. But for now, that is it for today's video. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.